Alana threw up a video interviewing one of the SAG AFTRA people. This is about the video game strikes, so we are 100% going to check in on that, or it ends up as a regular separate video. Is it going to work? Is it right here? Aha! Hit that subscribe button because I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year. It would definitely help out. Thank you if you do. And yeah. Hopefully we don't have too many hot takes in this, but there is always a good chance of hot takes being happening. So, anyways, let's jump into this. Let's do it. Let's see what. Let's see exactly
Support us on Patreon who make this
what
channel
we
a
got going
reality.
on.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alana. You probably already know that. Today, I'm joined by Sarah. Sarah, who are you and what are you doing here?
Sure. My name is Sarah Almale. I'm a games performer. I do other contracts as well, but games are my passion, my love, and my focus goes a career. And I'm also the chair of SAG-AFTRA's Interactive Media Agreement Negotiating Committee.
Right off the bat here, so it's like, I mean, the haircut says a lot. She definitely looks like that type of how do we say it in a nice way, the feminist movement type of thing that complains about a lot of things and screws up a lot of different movies and TV shows and everything because they just have to write everything a certain way and have inclusion with everyone and all that stuff. So already I'm looking at her like, oh boy, there could be some hot takes coming from her. So yeah, and also the she her right down there in the corner. You can see it. If I move my head, you can see it right over here. The she her just has to be right there on the nameplate. You better believe it. Okay, let's get into this. So this is the 11.5-minute video.
So I asked you here today because SAG is effectively on video game performer strike. I got to get me one of those. Link me to one when they're done. I did look, I did look. I was like, I want one. What is SAG on strike for? I'm just going to ask you the most simple questions to get everybody on board and understand what's happening. Why is SAG currently striking video game performances?
For sure. Well, the thing sort of stopping this deal from being finished is clear, comprehensive, fair, reasonable, collaborative AI protections.
Those are all opinion-based statements right there, but okay.
Not, AI protections that prevent the use of generative AI to create new performance, but they are just basic requirements of consent, transparency, compensation, meaning talk to your actors if you're going to replicate them, make sure you pay them properly.
Which already happens if you actually sit down with the heads of the video game companies themselves, which there is a lot of actors who have done that over the years. I can think of one of them being the guy who played in Days Gone. He sat down and yes, they use his he did do a little bit of a thing because everybody's like, wow, they're using his likeness and a bunch of gifs and everything. And he made like a joke out of it of like, yeah, they can do whatever they want with my likeness. Haha. But then again, there's also on this same show that Alana's had Troy Baker on here. Of course, Troy, he's had his likeness in games, and then he's also only had his voice in games and used somebody else's likeness, like Joel Miller in The Last of Us versus him being in Call of Duty. And he talked about how he negotiated the contract himself he negotiated the contract with himself with his managers, one-on-one with Activision versus one-on-one with Naughty Dog, and they figured the whole thing out of like, well, no, he doesn't want his likeness in this because Joel was earlier project than the Call of Duty one. Apparently he decided that it was cool for Call of Duty because he was like, yeah, cool, I'll be in there, I'll be a soldier. Woo. And then another one too was Infamous. He used his likeness, so I'm thinking Sony has a better contract negotiation when it comes to likenesses uses. Same thing with Laura Bailey. But then Laura also was in Call of Duty and her likeness was in Call of Duty. Same thing with Infamous, where she was a character in that too. So, again, that's one of the big things that I'm like wondering about because she's talking about contract negotiations and everything. And the first thing right off the bat, it's just, popping up in my head of, I've heard different actors talk about this, like Arthur Morgan doesn't look quite, they didn't need Arthur to look quite like Roger Clark. So Roger Clark is the voice. He's not the face of it, though. They just kind of made up a facial model. Anyways, let's get into it.
And we can all move forward as collaborators using this new tool. And yeah, for some reason, it's just been difficult to get on the same page about who deserves that kind of protection, what kind of performance deserves that protection, what that protection looks like, and how to make sure it's like clean and fair and good moving forward.
I definitely think that's something that a lot of people have misunderstood, that I, even on my own Instagram post about it, have had to clarify, that people think that it is completely anti-AI, but it's not that, right? It's just transparent use of it.
That might be one of the best things that they could clear up right there, is that it's not anti-AI, because again, you're going to have AI usage. It's a tool. It's a tool set. You don't know how they are going to use AI in each project. It's not just like AI is just used for this. Again, AI is a tool set that you can use for either its DLSS, or you can use it to map in extra voice lines, so they don't if they can't hire on people enough to be able to fill out all the NPCs and everything, so you can actually have NPC chatter when you're walking through a street and all that stuff. That can be a thing. And if the studio doesn't have the budget to hire a bunch of people, they can kind of fill it in. AI is not great to use to begin with, so there should never be this whole thing of like anti-AI. It's not even to that level as is. You can even watch the videos where everybody's like losing their minds over it, and still, like, even those videos look uncanny valley. Anyway,
it's just that basically, this is my understanding, is that actors should be allowed to know how it will be used going forward, or how their likeness or how their voices may be used. That's kind of it, right?
And movement as well. But yeah, everyone who performs, no, it's okay. But it's, just for clarity, like we all, variety of union performers go in to provide voice or face or movement, or all three together or separately. And yeah, it's just about basically what we have right now when we go in for a session is, even though most of us don't get scripts in advance, we do have a moment where we see the material and we can, either perform it for you or say, hang on just a second, I want to talk about this. I don't feel comfortable with XYZ. We have this moment where I can say, I'm not going to actually give you that, but let's find a new solution, and find a way forward. And so,
oh no. Okay, so of course it's pronouns, the look that she's got. I don't feel comfortable doing this. Well, no, you are there to perform the role that you were casted for. Now, this is getting outside of the AI thing. This is just you being kind of a brat on set, in all honesty, from what I've heard from other actors that are on set doing mocap and everything. If Troy Baker's a great example of this, when he came in to play Joel, he said this a million times over again, like he was overacting, and and Neil was like, well, you gotta dial it back some and whatnot. And then finally they worked through and they got Joel down to where Troy wasn't overacting, but he was also doing the justice to Joel's character and everything, and it became one of the most beloved characters of all time. So I'm not comfortable with doing X, Y, and Z. Well, if the role calls for X, Y, and Z and you're not comfortable doing it, well, this is a digital space. So therefore, you are playing the role of somebody else that wrote that role already. So I'm a little bit like on the edge with that one of like, you got to do what what the story calls for you to do. If you can't do it, then bring in somebody else that can do it, or will do it. Okay.
So that piece of like autonomy and back and forth is already in how we work. And so the idea being that we would just put that into the contract if I'm not going to be there, to perform it, right? So you still just talk to me about what you want to do with it and pay me properly, and that's kind of it.
Why do you think that there's so much pushback against this?
I mean, I would love for you to ask them,
Yeah.
Their answer. I think, I don't know. The way that our bargaining process works is we don't necessarily trade a lot of thoughts back and forth and kind of like a free flowing brainstorm. We have, we deliberate on our side in our little groups, and then our lawyers kind of convey the positions back and forth.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it's more that you're sharing contracts rather than having discussions about it.
And you know why? Because, okay, so if you watch podcasts with people like this that are like, well, I need to, let's have a debate back and forth. Every time they get pushback, they shut down, they cry, and they run away. So there's probably been enough people who have acted in that way that companies are now just like, we're not even going there. It's a waste of time and money, and and everybody, it's just get the contract signed, get them in there. Let's get the fucking role done over with. because they're looking to get that product out. And again, everybody's waiting for that product to come out also. And everybody's like, it has nothing to do with pre-orders and all that stuff, but it's just like that whole thing of, yes, you got to wait 4 to 5 years. This is $10 million of budget going into this, however big the project is, whatnot. You can't be sitting there, lollygagging around with, well, I don't know if I feel like doing this or that. No, you need to get the damn thing done, get it out. There is, shareholders and all that stuff that we need to pay back. We need to get this. So I'm looking at it from the publisher side. And I'm also like, I know how a lot of people act, especially in the LA side of things too. It's yeah.
Yeah, and if it were down to like logistical solves or feasibility questions, like I'm someone who has spent the better part of 15 years trying to understand development better so I can serve it better with my craft, right? And so I'm eager to learn, what that would take or what that looks like, or just, to solve it on that level. But if we can't agree on the basic rights and protections part, then that actors deserve those rights and protections, then it's difficult to kind of make that kind of progress.
Totally. Yeah, it makes it a little bit hard. So what does the strike mean? What are people supposed to be doing while striking? What are the asks of a strike, and how can people who aren't even part of SAG help?
Sure. The basic, principle of a strike is to stop working, so that you can apply that leverage together and say, look, and, I think maybe here's a way to put it. If you were working on a TV show and they asked you had a contract, nothing in it has to do with nudity, whatever. You come in or they're asking you to come in. They're like, we're going to do a day of work where we shoot a really graphic sex scene. And you're going to get naked and you're going to do all this, whatever. And you're like, that's not in my contract. And they're like, yeah, but it's not in your contract. And we'd like for you to come do it. We're not sure we'll use it in the final product. It might be something else. Maybe we'll.
So then they go and they get a body double and you're never on set. We've seen that multiple times where actresses are not comfortable with that and they go and get a body double. They hit the shot from, to where you can't really see their face, or they superimpose, they superimpose a face that doesn't really look like the actress, but it's just close enough to uncanny valley type of situation. This is where AI would come in. But also a lot of times, mostly what they'll do is they'll shoot the shot to where it gives you the illusion that you're seeing that person on screen, but you're not actually seeing them. Again, it's called a body double. It's called a stand-in on that stuff. So
actually make you be violent instead. We're not sure, but all we need you to do is come in for the day of work. Probably you wouldn't do that. You would feel justified in saying, I'm actually not going to keep going into work. We're going to pause so that my reps can work this out. You're going to make sure that you at least have to ask me about it. And then we can talk about whether that's something that serves this project or is something I'm comfortable with, and move forward that way. And that's like the degree of vulnerability and violation, I think, that's really present here, is like, you could have me come in and then, until we get this squared away. Anything
with AI, right? Yeah.
Anything. So like, I think it's really reasonable to stop work and say like, no, we have to work this out. We can't just keep,
Yeah. And while you are stop working, while you are on your little strike, then there is animators going without work. There is other writers going without work. There is marketing people that are going without work. So because this one little group of the company of people is being like, we're not going to work, then you have all of these other people that are getting held up also. And then it trickles down to the consumer also having to wait longer for the product to get finished because nobody else can get the damn workload so they can get their work done, because this little spot over here is not wanting to, do what they are essentially hired to do. Again, sure. Okay. So let's be fair with this also. Fair. Well, let's be kind, I guess you could say, with this also. If they, again, when it comes to, anytime you agree to doing a project, you should be like, okay, I'm cool with this. I am not cool with this, and this. And that should be going through your lawyer, through your talent agency, through your management, whoever it is that the contracts are going back and forth with, that you are signing up to do that, because you have to sign that, NDAs and everything else. And if you're not cool with this, and this, and they say, again, yes, you already have. So it's the whole thing of Hertz coming out and saying like, "Oh, well, I didn't agree to that." Okay, well, it's in the contract, so therefore, yes, they would have to rewrite. But again, they can do a stand-in body double. If you have, let's say, the multiple choice adventure games and whatnot, and there is a scene in there where somebody is kind of, like she said, nude or whatever, it wouldn't be a body scan of that actress or actor, because guess what? They never got body scanned in. So therefore, it is just a dummy body that is on that. So what is this going to up next? Every time there's a Looty Booty mod on a Nexus mod, all of a sudden everybody gets hit hard because that's not supposed to be on there. That's not what the actor or actress signed up for. This snowballs into so many different things of like, again, like there's so many parts to the gaming industry that somebody complained about this one little specific thing.
Can't use this behind my back or develop this. This AI is a mandatory subject of bargaining. And so using it or developing it, without coming to us and getting this settled, it is an unfair labor practice. So, so that's the basic action is like, hey, we're not going to show up to work. We're going to get this resolved. We have contracts out right now that have these protections.
Only
as
thinking
we
of
need them.
yourself.
We have an interim contract out right now, a tiered budget agreement for game productions below 30 million as far as overall production budget. And they have everything we need in them. So it's not even.
So we want more money from the big budget AAA studios because they are big budget AAA studios, even though the big budget AAA studios are having a hell of a time keeping the profits up because they spend so much money because they are a big budget studio to make said product.
Even that all work has to stop.
Yeah.
It's just unprotected work has to stop.
Yeah.
So we can start.
But that goes into all work. If you don't have all the pieces of the puzzle, how in the fuck are you supposed to make the whole puzzle a full picture? How in the fuck? So what are you gonna do? You're gonna launch the game on launch day, and then there's gonna be just like a few characters that there is no voice lines for, and then later on you have to get a day one patch update to to get the rest of the voice packs that it took them another extra month to get all that shit done because these people were over here being like doing all that shit. No, that's not how it works. You got to get the whole project done so you can get it out to the folks, so then both everybody can buy the damn game and experience it, and then also the shareholders can also get paid. Again, it's the arguments that come out of the SAG-AFTRA stuff. I know that a lot of the game industry is all like, yeah, let's do this. And it's because everybody's too damn nice in the gaming industry. Nobody has the balls enough to stand up and actually say what the real thing is, except for the ones that are in the higher ups. And then they get painted as always looking like the bad guy. Sometimes they are the bad guy. Not always, though. Sometimes they are just trying to keep business rolling while they have a bunch of, it's artists and all that stuff. Like, artists they're always way too damn nice. And they're like, oh my God, it's like this person should be getting paid more. That person should be. This is the problem with the gaming industry, though, it's the biggest problem with the gaming industry is that like people look at the game industry for like 20 years ago and they're like, man, it was so bad back then. It's like, no, people were just trying to get the damn job done.
Start working now with these protections and keep working forever, hopefully, with the protections as we need them.
For any union actors who are currently on strike, does SAG-AFTRA have any resources to help them? It's got to be pretty scary for a lot of people who just can't work right now or can't make money. That's obviously a thing you have to consider pretty seriously when going on strike. So does SAG-AFTRA do anything to help any people who might need financial assistance?
There is a whole, and I'm trying to remember the exact list, and I can get that for you. Nancy Linari, who is a member of our negotiating committee, who you might recognize as Aunt May, and I just love. She just brings so much. Yeah, she just brings so much Aunt May energy into this. Like, it's just so beautiful. She just did a video. I think it's on the Game Performance Matters social media channels, which is not official SAG-AFTRA comms, but a lot of us, who want to just sort of signal boost various things and talk about these issues just as ourselves. You can follow that in various places, Twitter.
What the fuck? So they got Fran from The Nanny, and then they got Aunt May. Oh boy. Okay.
TikTok, I think, Instagram.
I
I'm
will
sure I'm
leave a
missing
link.
something.
Buddy.
Yeah. I know that she just did a video exactly lining up, and it's more than one. I mean, it might be half a dozen different funds that you can apply to as as a performer, maybe even just a worker in the entertainment industry. So there's a whole list of folks.
Where's the money coming from for these funds? Where is so you're going to help pay their bills? Where's the money coming from on this? Hmm.
That you can, it's basically like it's feast, but for struggling workers
Okay,
in
that's
the
great.
entertainment industry.
I
Yeah.
love
So
that.
there are absolutely options. Yeah. Mhm.
Awesome. And otherwise, what do you ask that SAG-AFTRA union members do right now? People who are primarily focused on video game acting, like what should they be doing with their time? What is the most helpful thing for them to do during the strikes?
That's a great question. I would say focus, as much as you can. We're excited about these interim and tiered budget agreements. I really feel like this, one way to look at, we are stopping work, and that's an important part of how we achieve what we need, apply pressure to achieve what we need with certain people. But that doesn't mean all work stops. I feel thrilled and excited to see all the interim and tiered budget agreements that are being signed,
Yeah.
and the energy around that. So speaking with your fellow performers around, understanding and advocating for these agreements, talking with developers about them, and why they're important, why they matter to you as someone who needs these AI protections is really helpful. And those documents are
Speaking with the developers, wait. It's the publishers that pay the bills. It's the publishers that are that they're not the developers. It's published. Okay.
both available on the website for anyone to read and understand for themselves. Sharing the graphics, sharing stuff that SAG-AFTRA.
I think I also made a Let's Talk on the their website, and I read through all the points. I do believe that is on the YouTube channel. I'm fairly certain there's been a lot of stuff going on over the last month, so I'm pretty sure I made a video on that. It was, from what I remember it being, it was just a lot of like, we want to get more money, and and the AI thing is like, yeah, well, this is always an ongoing issue. Everybody wants more money in all the industries, but again, the publishers only have so much budget to go around. And just because you're over there screaming, we need more money and whatnot, well, get out of LA then. Jeez, like, you guys made your bed in LA. If you can't afford to live in LA, well, get the fuck out of there then, and and then fly back in. Like, don't live there. Just fly in for work and then fly back out. Yeah.
Comms puts out, sharing stuff maybe on that Game Performance Matters puts out. I think just really celebrating the fact that this is the start of an era where we have contracts that we can use and we might get to keep if this action succeeds. That we get to keep working with what we need is what I find most encouraging and exciting, even though this is a really difficult, challenging thing that we've just embarked on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that is majority of the questions that I had to ask. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
The most random thing, I don't know why this just popped in my head. I just want to say again that I love games. That's such a weird, that's like not a talking point at all, but like maybe that's just
it
it.
is though, because like it's not, like from the outside, I think sometimes the perception of these things can be, which like doesn't make any sense to me. Like greedy artists just want money, but that's never the case. Like with a lot of these jobs, you don't really get into it unless you really care about what you're doing. And that's
But the problem is there's a lot of artists that are kind of like, oh, well, they vote a certain way. They get they get representatives in the government for their state, and they push for a certain form of politics in their state, and then they wonder why they can't pay their bills. Yeah, again, politics and gaming should be separate. Well, when it comes to the business side of gaming, no, politics overall goes into this too. Of, if you don't have a good economy, you're not going to have as much budget to go around, and therefore you're not going to get paid as much. And if you can't pay your bills off from one single project, then you better be signing multiple projects to be able to, you're a contract worker. You're going to have to be working double time then if you want to be working, or if you're going to be wanting to work and eat in the same state that the prices for everything is like triple, because people can run into a store and steal shit up to $1,000 and get away with it. Yeah, that kind of comes back to bite you in the ass after a while. And that's what we're seeing here.
a reality that is, I think, easy for people to forget. in a lot of cases. Like it does matter that you love games and that most people who work in games love games. Like that's the
Yes.
truth, and it does matter.
Passion
If
projects are
anyone
great.
doesn't really care about games, it's in my opinion, the companies that are willing to let them be overrun by usually pretty poor quality generative AI because it's cheaper. Those are the ones who don't love games. The artists and the performers generally do.
And why are the companies doing that though? So Alana also had another video where she's talking about like, oh, well, companies are just trying to publishers are trying to get away with, and CEOs are trying to get away with making cheaper products. Yeah, they every single fucking one of these companies, everybody keeps saying the exact same thing. They're barely getting by between the budget that they have and the profits that they're making. Like they're barely, scraping even on this, on all these, big budget, games that they end up making. A lot of times you see a game, it'll spend millions of dollars and it doesn't even, the payoff on the game doesn't even reach back until almost a year later. So they are literally in debt, like the development studio is in debt with the publisher until a year later, until that game finally crosses the, 1 million copies sold mark, and now they're they're not in debt unless they made DLC or expansion pack within that year. Then they're a little bit farther in debt again. And again, it's just basic business of like, yes, there needs to be more money to go around, sure, but where's that money coming from? The economy needs to be doing better so people can buy more products. So therefore, there is a bigger profit to be made to be pushing down the line onto other people that are working in the damn business. It's not that hard to get down. It's not that hard to figure out.
Yeah. I feel, someone asked me a question yesterday around disrupting the industry, and I was like, this is an action specifically designed to create sustainability in this industry, right? And when you talk,
by going on strike and making sure people can't actually work, what?
Not to throw major wrenches into the conversation, but like, I would say 20 to 30,000 layoffs in recent months is just, the people are the industry. The people who make games are the industry. That's disruptive to the industry.
Sure. And why is that happening? Because the goddamn economy is so shit tiered. You motherfuckers still are looking at Biden like, yeah, all right. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? He's terrible. There's another guy that was actually like, we had the most profits in the gaming industry when the guy was in charge, and you people still are never Trumpers, and I will go there with it. Yes, his economy was way better than what we got now, and right now we see a bunch of mass layoffs happening. Why do you think that's happening? It's not just because publishers are being like, we don't need them. No, the publishers want those guys there because guess what? They make everybody a lot of fucking money. If you have people that can make netcode run really well, and you have an online game that all of a sudden everybody's jumping in. We just seen this with fighting games over the last like 4 or 5 years. All of a sudden they add in rollback netcode, and they figure that out. Now everybody's buying fighting games like crazy because the online is actually pretty good in like 2 of the 3 big ones that are out there. The reason why, and of course they want to keep those guys on. You know why? Because the game is selling better. They can sell a bunch of DLC and everything, which again, that's another big one where they're going to get everybody's ass with this. Yes, the entry point on games is probably going to stay the same, but then if you want to do something, I'm not saying battle passes are bad. Actually, battle passes are a damn good bang for your buck. What I'm saying is that when a character pack costs $15 to $20, nah, that's ridiculous. A battle pass where you can get all of this crazy stuff of like, all the way up until this like 100 tiers or whatever, and you get a character in each one of those tiers and everything, that is a good bang for your buck. And it also makes money in the long run for that. So battle passes, also pre-orders are not evil. Like, Alana always says that. And a lot of the indie developers will love to say that. But then they also, ask for pre-orders and wish lists too of like, well, it's like the pre-order, if anything, helps you guys out in the long run. Even if somebody puts $5 down and forgets to come pick the damn game up, you're still getting dollars out of that 5, whatever. The money's still going over there one way or the other.
That's volatility, right? And that's not designed toward, a long-term goal of institutional memory and other things
Totally.
that really help. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I do love games. I've played them my whole life. They have been my whole focus. I podcast with other game developers, talking to game developers about mainly indie games, not only indie games.
I mean, if that,
I've
that is
volunteered
good if
many
you got
many
a
hours,
passion for it. That is
co-hosting
awesome.
and writing and directing the Indiecade
But you
Awards
need to have your
specifically
business sense if
celebrate
you're going to be
indie
dealing in
games. I mean,
business side.
yeah, I have everything on the line for this. I'm exposing myself to people being uncomfortable with me now, in terms of relationships, because this matters to me, but it's only because I love games and game performance so much that I want to see it thrive and survive. If I didn't, I would just go do something else.
Totally.
So.
It'd be much easier.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find you? And
So basically, she just admitted that there's a lot of people that disagree with what the hell they're doing, and she knows it, but I got to be right. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was the reason why I wanted to watch that, because I wanted it from the mouth of somebody who is working in all this SAG stuff to figure out exactly what the fuck they're up to. Like, are they exactly what was their talking points on all this stuff? And I again, like, it just seems like every time, this is like the third time I think I've really heard like in depth from people that are around all this stuff, and every single time it just seems like, okay, you don't know how to do business for yourself, and you have probably some shitty management. Like, there's probably one company that is getting bigger and bigger with all these people that keep signing them on, and they are actually bad negotiators in the company that are negotiating for these people that are that are working in the games industry. It's probably some talent agency that they're all connected to, and then we'll end up seeing that talent agency get called out of like, well, they were doing bad contracts. It's like, yes, but here's the thing though, you still had to sign that NDA saying that you were cool with that contract. If you didn't sign that, there's no way that you would have got hired. Well, then I don't have work. Go to a different company. And if you can't end up signing a contract with any one of those companies, maybe you should be working somewhere else in a different field. Maybe like instead of, working in games, you should be working in Hollywood or something. That's the way I would be looking at that. I know that's like, well, that's rough thinking that way, but it's the business world. Business world is rough. It's cutthroat and everything. You gotta stick up for your own in that sense. So